Okay, aside from the two factoring methods we used, we can also use the quadratic formula to solve for x. And this is especially useful when the trinomial just doesn't factor. So for example, this one, what we would think we would do with factoring is we would multiply the 9 by 9 to get 81. We would factor the 81 into 1 and 81. 2 doesn't go in. 3 does, but I'll just need to calculate that, which is 27 times. And 9 times 9 is 81. But none of those combinations can add or subtract in any way to give us this negative 5. So thankfully, we have a quadratic formula for coming up with answers when they're not so nice. And that formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And it looks terrible right now to use, but most students actually do very well in the quadratic formula section of tests because you plug in numbers and simplify. Okay, so this a, b, and c. So we need to figure out what those are. It's very easy. The number in front of the x squared is a. The number in front of the x is b. And the number on its own is c. So in this case, a equals 9. B equals negative 5. C equals negative 9. And we just plug those numbers into the formula and solve for x. So that means that x equals negative 5. Be careful with that negative. Plus or minus b is negative 5 squared minus 4 times a is 9 and c is negative 9 all over 2 times 9. Okay. So negative 5 is just positive 5. And negative 5 squared is 25. Minus, okay, 4 times 9 times negative 9. Just going to put that in my calculator, and that is negative 324. All over 2 times 9 is 18. Okay. So that's going to simplify to 5 plus or minus 25 minus negative 324. So when you subtract a negative, it's actually just like adding those two numbers. So that leaves us with 349. If you're having difficulty with the positive and negative numbers, there is a section of review on that in the first lesson from the first section of this chapter. So I encourage you to go back and take a look at that if you're struggling with it. Over 18. And now all that this plus or minus means is that we're going to have two answers. So we're going to have 5 plus the square root of 349 divided by 18, and we're going to have 5 minus the square root of 349 divided by 18. And the square root of 349, I'm just going to type that into my calculator, is about 18.78. Okay, so at this point, just go 5 plus 18.78 divided by 18 is 1.31. To 2 decimal places is fine. And 5 minus 18.78 divided by 18 is giving me negative 0.76. Final answers. Okay. And next question. All right, so right away when I look at this one, I think, okay, this isn't in the right form because they all have to be on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to add 14x to this side and to this side. So it's going to be 8x squared plus 14x equals 15. And I'm going to also now subtract 15 from each side of the equal sign. It's giving me 8x squared plus 14x minus 15 equals 0. Nice. Now I'm ready to go. Okay. So I've got my value for a, b, and c. So a equals 8 in front of the x squared. The number in front of the regular x is the 14. And my c is negative 15. Okay, so I'm going to write out the quadratic formula. You don't need to memorize the quadratic formula. It's going to be given to you for everything on your formula sheet. And that's b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So now just fill them in. So b is 14. 14 squared minus 4 times 8 times negative 15 all over 2 times 8. Okay, and that's equal to negative 14 plus or minus. Okay, 14 squared 14 is 196 minus 4 times 8 times negative 15 is negative 480. All over 2 times 8 is 16. Okay, and that's equal to negative 14 plus or minus. Oh, here we have that again where we're subtracting a negative. So we're just adding the 196 and 480, which is 676 over 16. Okay, the square root of 676, oh, is actually a whole number. It's 26. So plus or minus 26 over 16. And again, two answers because of that positive and negative. And so it's going to be negative 14 plus 26 over 16. And we're going to have negative 14, negative 14, minus 26 over 16. And working that out, negative 14 plus 26, that's going to be 12 over 16. And negative 14 minus 26 over 16 is going to be, let's see, negative. Okay, so that equals negative 2.5. And this one you can simplify to 3/4. Or you can give me the decimal as 0.75. Either is fine. So those are the two solutions for that question. All right, so last one. Okay, so I'm going to write out my A equals 3, B equals 5, and C equals 10. My quadratic formula. Okay, and I'm just going to substitute in the numbers now. Plus or minus 5 squared minus 4 times 10. 2 times 3. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus, let's see, 4 times 3 is 12. Times 10 is 120. All over 6. Equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 95. Okay, so right away, I can stop and say no solutions. And that's my answer. You might also see sometimes this being described as imaginary solutions only or two imaginary solutions. That's because you can't take the square root of a negative number. It just doesn't exist. Or in upper level math, they'll say that it's an imaginary number. And what this means is that the parabola never crosses the x-axis. And of course, there's situations, lots of situations like that. We could have one up here, one down here, one over here, where it never even touches. And so again, I encourage you to try the practice questions for this section.